Okay, it's on. Alright. Okay, so today was greatest common factor and distributive property. Just kind of reflecting on the lesson.
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Over here. So I moved.
Unfair.
Okay, right?
Totally unfair.
Right over here, back up. That's funny. Okay, just reflecting on the lesson, they got GCF really well. I saw a little bit of hesitation with the distributed property. Not that they didn't get it, but it was just like hesitant that, does that make sense?
Yeah, because in my first block, I'm trying not to look at you. In my first block, I felt like they got it. I haven't really looked through their exit tickets yet, but I feel like they got it, but they had this bewildered look on their face, like, why are we even doing this?
Yeah, see, that's the
Yeah,
hesitation.
Mine was like, what's the point?
That's the
Yeah,
hesitance of that. Yeah.
Because they
well-
can add the two numbers together.
Right, but even if they didn't have a GCF, you know, so that's when we
Right.
talk about look at the numbers in the parentheses and make sure there's no common factor. It's kind of like reducing.
Yeah.
The stuff in the parentheses has to be in lowest terms.
Yes.
If it is, then you pulled out the GCF. The other thing was like, we're like, what's the point of this?
Yeah.
So we went back to the standard and read the standard. And they were like, okay.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah,
I think
so-
I made the algebra connection. So I kind of made the connection with algebra, with, you said reducing, kind of like simplifying
Right,
the expression. And I
right.
said we're going to need this, but equivalent expression, so when we get to that. But,
So, I used, like, in my first block, it was like, okay, I feel like, okay, they did the thing I told them to do, but I didn't think they understood why they were doing what they were doing. So my second block, I just started off with an area model, and I said, and I just kind of showed them like visual, okay, and I put the GCF on the outside, and I put the two numbers on the top, and I put the actual area on the inside, and I had them like, you know, figure out the connection between the GCF, the factor they were multiplying by, and the area of that piece. So fantastic. In
so
fact,
much better than first block.
yes, in fact,
Good.
they wanted to use the area model, like they wanted to continue using it, and I said, okay, well, eventually we need to take it away. I said, it's just kind of like, you know, if you need it, sort of like criteria.
The understanding of it.
If you
So once you
need-
understand it, let's remove
Yeah,
it.
if you understand what you're doing, then you can stop using it.
Gotcha.
So I had a good handful that wanted to keep using it throughout the lesson. I'm
Gotcha.
fine with that, as long as they could express.
So
you
that
know,
could be
really
an intervention
shape.
group for number 2, because if they're struggling with that distributed property, maybe an intervention group tomorrow could be showing them with that visual with the area model.
Right, and I'm definitely doing that with my first block tomorrow. Like, I'm
Okay.
showing the whole class, this is why we're doing what we're doing.
Gotcha.
Or at least make them make that connection, like the relationship between
Right.
distributive and that area model. And I'll show you, I
Let me
had,
ask you this, does this order matter?
we had a student sample in my class that we pulled up, and it was like, kind of like, well, really, it kind of doesn't, because
Right, 'cause
with
it's
addition, you have that
Right.
We
community
can talk about the
property.
community property.
Okay, so
That's
that's
something I think we
acceptable?
can bring in.
We
Yeah, I think
talked
that's a
about
good
that in my
discussion.
class too, and I think, she's like, I flipped it around, and then we had a discussion about it, can we do that? Let's see.
Because I think when
But on
you
the
get,
exit ticket, are we gonna
you
take
get to
that?
algebra, I think that's a good discussion with equivalent expressions. So, I mean, if you can talk about it now, I think that's a huge connection. But to address your question on the why, and the kids don't see the why, I think it's because we have no context.
Right, and
Yeah.
I showed him the context.
Yeah.
And I said, if you had context, then you could tell me how many girls and boys are on the team
So
or
that
whatever.
might,
But there's no
yeah.
context.
But I'm thinking,
go ahead, I know.
no.
But no, but like you showed them to show the why, that might be a good thing for the Q4 kids, so they
Yeah.
understand what they're
What
doing
the
and
meaning
why.
is.
Like, I know the standard's yellow, but just to show the meaning and what's the point of the distributed property and how they can apply it to the situation.
Mhm.
Right, if it was a context.
And I had a couple of my higher kids, like toward the end of the lesson, when are we ever gonna use this?
Well, that would,
And I told them, I was like, we're gonna see tomorrow.
yeah, that would help that question.
Right.
Yeah, it would. But if y'all, I don't know, if y'all wanna see, this is
With the
this is
area
what I
model.
did.
Yeah, but I think it was in the teacher meeting.
Was it? I don't know. I didn't. I kind of veered away from it
Yeah.
from
good.
today.
No, I
Because
agree.
we were using that
It just
worksheet, and I nixed the worksheet in my second block. 'Cause
Gotcha.
I'm like, this is not,
Gotcha, it wasn't working.
no, it was too, I think it was too much, stuff
Gotcha.
in front of them.
All right, so let's go to
That's a
number
good
one
model.
on exit ticket with just GCF. And then we'll bring that back into
A lot of
number
mine
two.
maybe were distributed anyway.
I'll
Yeah.
send you a picture.
All right, so number one exit ticket was find GCF of 24 and 36, and it's show all work. So if we're thinking characteristics of high, what do we want to see if it's a high model?
For number one, it's just finding finding the greatest common factor. I
said
would say
show
maybe
all
show
work.
some work,
It
yeah,
says show all work.
show their strategy.
So they could have choices in the strategy where they can list the factors.
They did the
Did anybody
table.
do factor tree?
I talked to them about it, and I just wanted to see if they had learned it like that before, if they've heard of it, and none of them said anything about it. It's like, okay, well, we're gonna show you a table, and
Mine
I
read
find
the
it
table.
easier to do it.
Yeah.
And so they saw it on the.
So you gave them the choice.
Yeah.
Good, I like that idea.
I had some yesterday, like I showed the factor tree yesterday,
Mhm.
and, I just told them if they felt like it was something that they like to see, like visually,
Mhm.
use that, but if otherwise, use the table.
Gotcha.
Most of mine use the table, but I did have a couple do the factor tree.
So we want to say high has some math evidence of a strategy,
So some strategy.
some kind of strategy shown.
Mhm.
And then obviously the correct answer of 12.
And mine loved the table.
Okay.
Mine did too.
I agree, I liked it.
I liked it too.
Less areas for error.
But then it helped with the distributive property.
It did,
That's
because then you can look
that's-
across.
You can
Yeah,
see
I
the
was like, you
partner.
already have it on
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
You don't even need to think anymore.
No, no,
Okay.
it was right there. It made sense.
So high is strategy with accurate work and the correct answer of 12. Okay, so medium?
If they found maybe another factor.
Yeah.
I agree, Holly.
Yeah, just a common factor.
They found a common factor, but it wasn't the greatest
Well,
one.
right.
Still use the strategy.
Yeah. Still see evidence of the strategy, yeah, I agree. And then obviously low would be, let's just
Maybe
kind of
even
flip
listed.
through to make sure we're
Yeah.
not missing anything.
Yeah. A lot of mine did the whole distributed property on the first one.
Like listed only like
I would
two
say like
factors.
stuck almost, like they're just stuck with the multiplication.
He doesn't know the facts.
Okay, so we can group them based on their needs. So his
Yeah.
need is multiplication facts.
Yeah.
Okay. So looking at the low, they're just kind of stuck, or, I mean, it's just not knowing their facts.
And I have some that aren't listing all of the possibilities.
Skipping them.
Yeah.
Whenever I taught it, I made a list of 1 through 10 on the side of the board, and I was like, okay, let's go to 1. That's the first step. Okay, let's go to 2. And then we talked about going straight down the list till you get to the other side. And I was like, don't veer away from that so you don't skip any.
Exactly.
And a lot of kids like that.
Do you see any other needs for your lows besides multiplication facts?
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's considered multiplication facts when it's like listing all the possibilities. I mean, I guess it
But you
is.
listen factors, and factors are the part of the multiplication
Yeah.
problem, so if they don't know their facts, they're not gonna be able to list factors.
Okay, so
Right.
low.
Even with the
it's just
divisibility
they're
rules we
stuck.
went over.
Yeah.
Some
Well,
of them,
and-
we're
and-
using them,
Right.
they're like, well.
And it's so applied here.
Oh, it did, especially the 3, because a lot of them were adding up the digits. And so the
Mhm.
3's a factor because, you know,
So if we
it's
had to
not a
make
factor.
groups based on just this number 1, based on what the kids need, I don't think medium, I think it's just, medium's just not picking the greatest factor.
Right.
I think that's a quick fix, like I don't know if they really need,
But, and I'm looking at this work right now and I'm seeing that they're picking what they
6.
have as the greatest factor because they're not all listed. So that would be a low,
Oh,
you
okay.
know? So we have to be careful when we're saying, didn't pick the greatest factor, but we need to know why.
Yeah, because some of mine have 6 and 12 and they pick 6.
Yeah.
And they had the 12, and then some, like you
Yeah, I
said,
have,
don't
like,
have the 12.
I have that
It's
situation
two
here.
different.
Yeah.
so what groups do we have there? I'm thinking,
You might want to just give the ones back that have the 12 and the 6 and say,
Mhm.
look again. Use your eyes.
so the medium might be a quick fix if it's just they looked over the greatest
12.
one.
Okay, what
But they have
strategy
those
can we
six.
give them though, to help them, because I have one, like I'm looking at one that had all the factors listed and she went down to the bottom of the list. I'm
Mhm.
assuming she just went straight to the bottom because she was like, oh, well, that was my last, set of
Yeah.
factors and she compared them to the first, so she only circled the 6s.
Uh,
But she didn't look back at the 12. And I know
Gotcha.
in our Eureka book, they said maybe circle all the common factors, so
did,
maybe that could be a strategy we can give
And then
them.
put a
And then
rectangle
a
or
rectangle.
triangle around the greatest.
Yeah.
So maybe, I'm just trying to think of a way to kind of fix,
I like
give
that.
them a fix. So, circle,
So we'll give them a quick fix with, then their feedback will be circle all common factors,
Put a triangle.
and then
there.
triangle or rectangle, the biggest, the greatest.
yeah. Because I showed it yesterday, but then I stepped away from it because it was like, okay, we got
I know,
this.
I
much
started it
going
too,
on,
because I
too.
followed it with the book, and I did
Yeah.
too, and then like, they're like, well, I see it, but I
Yeah.
think some of them are going too fast and think they see it, and they
I
don't.
did the same thing, and some of, I'm looking back on it too, this one had the same factors, but they just stopped it
Stop.
too, yeah. And they s- didn't circle them all.
Look at this factor tree.
So
Wow.
somebody did do it. I like to give them the choice of their strategy, whatever one works for them. Okay, what about low? Do we pull them and maybe review the divisibility rules with
That's what
them?
I'm gonna have to do.
That will help?
I think that would help,
Okay.
because even when I was working with my load today in class,
Mhm.
I hate to say load, but, the ones that were struggling
Mhm.
with their factors,
Yeah.
that was one of the things we talked about. We just kind of went down the list. Okay, is it divisible by 2? Is it even? So we talked about, I
Yeah.
kept bringing back the divisibility rules.
Mhm. So
Gotcha.
my kids said, oh, I remember that because I learned it from the divisibility.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I like how they saw the
Yeah,
purpose of
they
it.
did
today.
see.
Because we
Yeah.
reviewed it yesterday, but
For
seeing the
both-
purpose,
for
I think,
both,
makes it
yeah.
more meaningful to them.
Mhm.
All right, are we good with number 1?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move on to number 2, and we'll start, you want to start with high? What would a high look like for number 2?
Sure.
Greatest common factor family.
Yeah.
Yeah, found the GCF. So we know if they struggle with number 1, then number 2 is probably not.
Yeah.
Although the numbers were different though. I
Yeah,
think
they
with-
were, so 12 and 20, that's a good way to look at it, Joe. I like
Well,
that.
they don't have
They
much in
got it.
common, except,
Yeah.
the other one had the 6 and the 12
Mhm.
and the 3 and the 4.
And the 4.
And the 6.
Yeah.
So
They had a lot.
A lot more.
Well, and it was that's probably
Why
why
they did that
they
one.
chose it for
Yeah.
GCF.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But this one.
Okay, and
So found GCF and set up the factors in the parentheses.
Yeah.
I wanted to see if any of them went back and checked, because I think that would be a really good strategy for mediums. Is to, did they actually go back and distribute to check their work?
Well,
Well, but they can still distribute
And
and not
if you're
have a
right.
GCF. So
I
it's
know,
not really
but
a
it's-
check.
That's true.
So
not
I
in
told
like-
mine, check
This
what's
person
inside.
did it, yeah.
I said, check what's inside the parentheses
Okay.
and make sure there's no common factor
Left.
left.
Gotcha.
Right.
because they were doing that on the,
And they're like, I
YouTube.
got it.
And I was like, yes, it adds up to what it was supposed to, but it's not the
Because if
lowest.
they use 2, it would still go to 12 and 20.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so all the highs, we see they found the GCF and then they set up the distributed property correctly.
Do we want to go so far as to say like, well, I mean, I guess not. I was gonna say like maybe that they did check their work, or maybe that could be feedback on the high.
That's
too.
what I think. How can you
Um,
even make sure?
Yeah, to make it
Yeah.
better.
That's what, I guess that's what I was trying to,
Yeah. So I'm thinking, because I'm seeing a lot of high work, but I would give them feedback to go check
Check
it,
your
because
work.
that is something we discussed.
like, prove their answer.
Mhm.
And then we already said Q4, we would give them context to see the reasoning and the meaning behind using GCF and distributed
Okay.
property.
So that's what we're gonna do.
We can use the ones in Eureka, are y'all good with that?
Yes, definitely.
Uh,
Did y'all do stations today?
No.
No.
I didn't get to it.
I did it my first block, and I felt like the time would have been better spent
They're doing
doing
the
this.
concept.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I mean, I did more of we do. I spent more time on the we do to make sure they can get that. Just because
Right.
it was that yellow standard with
Mhm.
fluency and procedural, like I wanted to
Mhm.
make sure they did that. But I'm good with, now that they got it, I'm good with showing them the context, just to see the
Definitely.
meaning behind it. And I think that was station 1, is the word problems.
Yes. actually, it's a couple of stations have word problems.
Okay, gotcha. Or some at LCM.
Yes.
Oh, should we mix that in for Q4 too?
Oh, yeah.
We could do that and have Q4 do LCM and GCF.
Just to review it since you just did it.
Yeah.
Maybe
Maybe
much
circle
practice
context
with it.
clues in the problem.
Yeah.
So I would say a medium, maybe they found the GCF, but they didn't
The numbers.
apply it
Yeah.
to factors.
Or they found a common factor
A common
and set up
factor.
the distributive property
So we can say
correctly.
common factor,
But not the GCF.
incorrect setup.
Yeah, so found GCF, incorrect setup, or found just a common factor with a correct setup.
Okay. So the setup has to be correct for medium.
No, it could be either or.
So they found the common
If they
factor.
set it up correctly, but don't
And
have the
Oh,
correct.
GCF.
GCF and incorrect setup.
This would be a
Right.
medium to me, because they found a common factor, and everything's set up correct, because 2 times 6 is
Right.
12 and 2 times 10,
But it's not the GCF.
but it's not the GCF.
Right.
Or they found the GCF and the setup is wrong.
Okay, and let's just go through to make sure we hit all the
Is that right?
mediums.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I just wanna make sure
I
we
have,
got
like, I have one that
covered
did,
everybody.
this is before I did the, model too, this first block, but, I have 4 times 3 plus 4 times 5, so maybe they didn't complete. Like right
That
here.
step was on the worksheet.
Yeah.
It
And
was,
so-
and I think it matters, but it's part of the process, but it's not
Yeah.
showing the setup.
Yeah.
Right.
So medium,
I would say like a high medium, like they don't, there should be a quick fix.
yeah,
So I would just give them some feedback to fix that and go on.
okay.
I'm trying to find any other medium. I have a lot that use 2s.
Really?
Yeah. But look, they have 4 listed, they just picked the
You
2.
just picked the two.
Mine did better on the second one than the first one.
So I'm thinking it could be another quick fix with some feedback for medium. What if we gave them a strong model of a different problem first for medium, and then they could fix it on their own based on that feedback and the strong model?
Mhm.
Would that work?
Yeah,
So they can kind of analyze the strong model, like kind of going through step by step, then read their feedback, and then kind of see how they can correct their answer. Or they might not even need the strong model, they might see it, but it could be,
Immediately,
it could be
yeah.
an option, for them to have,
okay.
If they need it.
if they need it. And then low, I think this is where my biggest group's gonna be.
Mhm.
Like, I have one that just used 12. And she just put 2 plus 3. Oh, she used 12 from, oh, she used
She's
number
the,
1.
oh,
Oh, she didn't.
I see what she did, she didn't rewrite the new one, she used the, okay.
Oh, yeah. She didn't see the little 12
She didn't see
plus
the 12
20.
plus 20, maybe it should have put it over here.
like,
So she gets it, she used the wrong
Yeah.
problem.
yeah, I mean, I think some of my low, it's gonna be fine in the GCF, but I think that would be addressed in the first
first
number
group.
one.
That's what I was gonna say, most, if they were low, it was
So-
I
GCF.
say pull them.
Yeah,
What's your GCF?
group.
It's the same ones for me.
It should be the same one, that's what I'm
It should
thinking.
be.
Not all
It
of
should
them.
overlap.
For me, it is.
I would think it would overlap. So the low almost needs a reteach and using your
That
area
area
model.
model.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so we'll do teach with area.
As the visual. We can even maybe like have some drawn where they just fill in the blanks in the area
Yeah,
model.
just have it set up
And then
already.
gradually release them off of the area
Yeah.
model.
And that's what, I mean, I would even put that for feedback on my mediums that used it today, like to.
That know about it, for
Yeah,
sure.
to try to step away from that.
Especially the ones with the incorrect setup.
Mm-hmm.
Cause I think the ones who have the correct,
Yeah, cause they even have high ones that did that, and, it's like, now I wanna see it without it.
Mhm.
So that can be a
Feedback to, yeah.
feedback, yeah. Proof by distributing and then
Alright, I think we kinda hit everything, like just
I
looking
think
through, I don't
so,
see
yeah.
anybody else that,
oh, I'm not even gonna say, oh. I have two that did 12 plus 20 equals 32.
Yeah, I had somebody put
That's
it too.
true. That's true.
They got the sum.
But that's not what we practiced. They have the sum of two numbers, part of the standard. Okay.
I just had one that did that.
Okay, yep. And y'all, just for comparison, I hate to keep saying it, but that area model,
Helped a lot.
yeah, like between the two classes, the ones that did and didn't have it.
And I introduced with it just to kind of show them, because a lot of them remembered it from primary school. Like when I started doing it, like, oh, we did that before. So they
Got a little
remember,
bit.
you know, a little bit of it. I just, once I showed it with it, I'll let go of it. But maybe for those now that who are struggling, I'll go back to it and keep it in there.
Okay.
And maybe even next hour, I'll see what if I do a couple problems with it, if the results are better last block than.
Yeah, that's what I wanna see
Than
too.
here, yeah, now that it has that. Okay, so we're good with that, and we'll do our little groups tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I guess I could. Do I just hit record again?